Have a nice day, children. I hope you are all good and safe. Today's session is Unit 4 from History, the Delhi Sultanate. Introduction. During the 11th century, the Turkish horsemen pillaged northern India, and due to their persistent campaigns, they succeeded in seizing political control of the Gangetic Plain by the next century. Though the success of their conquests could be attributed to their audacity and ferocity, their success is really due to the failure of Indians to defend themselves and their territories. Indians viewed each other with distrust, failing to take note of the success of Islam in early years of its spread. The superior military might of Muslim soldiers was yet another factor that contributed to success in their conquests. In this lesson, we discuss how Turkish warriors set about founding and consolidating their Islamic rule till the advent of Babur. We will learn about each dynasty. Slave dynasty, Khalji dynasty, Tughlaq dynasty, Sayyid dynasty, Lodi dynasty. We will see about one by one. First one, slave dynasty. They ruled from 1206 to 1290. Muslim rule in India was established by Muhammad Ghori in 12th century AD. As he had no sons, he nurtured special slaves called bandagan. That is a Persian term used for slaves purchased for military service. These slaves were posted as governors and they were later raised to the status of sultans. After Ghori's death in 1206, one of his slaves, Qutbuddin Aibak, who had been left behind by Muhammad Ghori to govern the territories he had conquered, proclaimed himself ruler of the Turkish territories in India. He laid the foundation of the slave dynasty. This dynasty is also known as Mamluk dynasty. Mamluk is an Arabic word meaning slave. Qutbuddin Aibak, Samsuddin Iltutmish and Ghiyasuddin Balban were the three great sultans of this dynasty, that is slave dynasty. The slave dynasty ruled over the subcontinent for about 84 years. Okay, from slave dynasty, first one, Qutbuddin Aibak. He ruled 1206 to 1210. Qutbuddin Aibak began his rule by establishing Lahore as the capital of his kingdom. Later he shifted his capital to Delhi. He was active all through his rule in Delhi, conquering new territories and suppressing rebellions. He personally led military campaigns to the central and western Indo-Gangetic plain, that is North India, and left the conquest of the East Gangetic plain, that is Bihar and Bengal, to the care of Bakhtiyar Khalji. Aibak built the Quaitul Islam Masjid, that is mosque, in Delhi. This mosque is considered to be the oldest in India. He also laid the foundation of the Qutbuddin Minar, but he was unable to complete it. It was later finished by his son-in-law and his successor Iltutmish. Aibak died in 1210. Next, Iltutmish. He ruled from 1210 to 1236. Aibak's sons Auram Shah proved incompetent, and so the Turkish nobles chose Iltutmish, the son-in-law of Aibak, as the Sultan, who served as a military commander of Aibak. Iltutmish firmly established his control over the territories by suppressing rebellions. It was during his reign that the threat of Mongols under Genghis Khan loomed large over the frontiers of India. He averted the impending danger by refusing to provide shelter to the Khwarizm Shah Jalaluddin, who had been driven out by Genghis Khan. In order to counter the possible attack of the Mongols, Iltutmish organized Turkish nobility into a select group of 40 nobles that is known as Chagalgani or the 40. Iltutmish granted iktas means land, to members of his army. Ikta is the land granted to army officials in lieu of a regular wage. The ikta holder is called the iktadar or mukti, who had to provide the sultan with military assistance in times of war. Iltutmish completed the construction of the Qutb Minar, which had been started by Aybakr. Iltutmish died in April 1236 after ruling for 26 years. Next, Razia. See, she is a woman. 1236 to 1240 she ruled. As the most capable son of Iltutmish, Rukn-uddin Firuz was dead. Iltutmish nominated his daughter Razia Sultana as his successor to the throne of Delhi. Razia was an able and brave fighter, but she had a tough time with Turkish nobles as she favored non-Turkish nobles. She also faced the situation of the ferocious Mongols raiding Punjab during her reign. Razia made an Ethiopian slave named Jalaluddin Yakut as her personal attendant and started trusting him completely. This led to a revolt of the Turkish nobles who conspired against her and got her murdered in 1240. Ghiyasuddin Balban. He ruled from 1266 to 1287. After Razia, 3 weak rulers in succession ascended the throne. After them came Ghiyasuddin Balban. Balban abolished the 40 as it was hostile to him. He established the department of spies to gather intelligence about the conspirators and the troublemakers against his rule. Tugril Khan, a provincial governor in Bengal, who raised a banner of revolt against Balban, was captured and beheaded. He was ruthless in dealing with enemies like Mews of Mewat, that is a Muslim Rajput community from northwestern India. Balban, however, took care to maintain cordial relationship with the Mongols. He obtained from Hulagu Khan, grandson of Genghis Khan and the Mongol viceroy in Iran, the assurance that Mongols would not advance beyond Satluj. Balban built forts to guard his empire against the Mongol attacks. He patronized the famous Persian poet Amir Khusro. Balban died in 1287. Balban's son Kaikubad turned out to be weak. In 1290, Malik Jalaluddin Khalji, the commander of the army, assumed the office of Nayab, the deputy to the Sultan, and ruled the kingdom in the name of Kaikubad. Then one day, Jalaluddin sent one of his officers and had Kaikubad murdered. Jalaluddin then formally ascended the throne. With him began the rule of Khalji dynasty. This is next dynasty after the slave dynasty. They ruled 1290 to 1320. In Khalji dynasty, Jalaluddin Khalji and Alauddin Khalji, they are ruled. Okay, first one we'll see about Jalaluddin Khalji. He ruled 1296 to 1316. There were many military campaigns, but they were mostly organized and led by his nephew Alauddin, the governor of Kara. Alauddin, after defeating the Yadava king Ramachandra, plundered the city and returned with huge wealth. Alauddin treacherously killed Jalaluddin after buying off the prominent nobles and important commanders with the wealth he had bought from the Deccan and declared himself as the Sultan of Delhi in 1296. This is Jalaluddin Khalji. Next one, Alauddin Khilji. 1296 to 1316. Alauddin Khilji consolidated the Delhi Sultanate. The range of his conquest is impressive in the Punjab, that is against Mongols, in Rajasthan and Gujarat. With his northern frontier secure, he sent his chief lieutenant Malik Kafur into the southern parts, who took even the distant Madurai in 1310. The Yadavas of Devagiri, the Kakatiyas of Warangal, the Hoysalas of Dwarasamutra, and the Pandyas of Madurai accepted Alauddin's suzerainty. Alauddin's political and administrative reforms were as impressive as his military conquests. Alauddin undertook a survey of the agrarian resources around his capital and fixed standard revenue demand. He entrusted the task of collecting the revenue to the military officers. This measure deprived the local chiefs and rajas of their time memorial privilege. Alauddin established a system of forced procurement of food grains for Delhi and other garrison centers. The procurement prices were fixed and grain collected as tax was stored in state granaries. In order to ensure the enforcement of his new regulations, he employed spies who were responsible to report to him directly. Alauddin died in 1316. The failure of his successors to retain power led to the seizure of power by Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq, who founded the Tughlaq dynasty. Say slave dynasty, then Khalji dynasty. Now we will see about Tughlaq dynasty. Okay, they ruled 1320 to 1324. One of the major tasks of Ghiyasuddin as the Sultan was to recover the territories that the Sultanate had lost during the death of Alauddin. Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq sent his son Jauna Khan to fight against Warangal. Jauna Khan defeated Prataparudra of Warangal and returned with the rich booty. With this looted wealth, Ghiyasuddin laid the foundation of the city Tughlaqabad near Delhi. Jauna Khan killed his father and ascended the throne with title Muhammad bin Tughlaq in 1325. Okay, Muhammad bin Tughlaq. He ruled 1325 to 1351. He was a learned man, yet he was a person of cruelty. Muhammad bin Tughlaq dreamt of making the whole of the subcontinent his domain. With a view to facilitating extended sovereignty, he shifted his capital from Delhi to the center of the kingdom, namely Devagiri. He also changed its name to Daulatabad. When Muhammad himself decided that the move was a mistake, he ordered a return to Delhi as a capital again. Tughlaq changed the Alauddin system of revenue collections in grain. He increased that the land revenue collected in money. This proved disastrous during famines. When he discovered that the stock of coins and silver was inadequate for minting, he issued a token currency in copper. Counterfeiting soon became order of the day, and as a result, the entire revenue system collapsed. Trade suffered as the foreign merchants stopped business. This forced Sultan to withdraw the token currency and pay gold and silver coins in exchange. This move led the state to become bankrupt. Tughlaq increased land tax in the Doab region, which triggered peasant revolts. As the revolts were cruelty dealt with, peasants abandoned cultivation, which resulted in the outbreak of frequent famines. Tughlaq ruled as Sultan for 25 years. During his long reign, he had to face many revolts of the provincial governors. The governors of Awadh, Multan and Sindh revolted and declared themselves independent. In South India, several states arose. The new Dawlatabad and the conquered territories around them were declared independent sultanate called Bamini. Madurai was proclaimed a separate sultanate in 1334. Bengal became independent in 1346. Tughlaq died on 23rd March 1351. Firoza Tughlaq, he ruled from 1351 to 1388. Feroz, the son of Ghiasuddin's younger brother, succeeded Muhammad bin Tughlaq. He also showed no interest in reconquering the southern provinces. He refused to accept an invitation from a Bahmani prince. Feroz rewarded Sufis and other religious leaders generously and listened to their advice. He also created charities to aid poor Muslims, built colleges, mosques and hospitals. He adopted many humanitarian measures. He banned inhuman punishments and abolished taxes not recognized by Muslim law. He promoted agriculture by waiving off the debts of the agriculturists and constructing many canals for irrigation. He laid out 1200 new gardens and restored 30 old gardens of Alauddin Khilji. He had built new towns such as Firozabad, Jaunpur, Hisar and Firozpur. Despite adopting a peaceful approach and taking efforts to organize the Sultanate well, he had to spend his last days in unhappiness. His own son Muhammad Khan revolted against him and Firoza died in September 1388 at the age of 83. Taimur's invasion that held on 1398. The sacking and mazar by Tamerlane or Taimur of Delhi came a decade after Firuz Tughlaq died. As a ruler of the region around Samarkand in Central Asia, Taimur had occupied some parts in the northwest of India. Taking advantage of India's weakness, he entered in India in December 1398 and plundered Delhi. Punjab, besides the Delhi city, was the province that suffered most by Taimur's raid. Taimur, apart from carrying huge wealth in the form of gold, silver, jewels, also took along Indian artisans like carpenters and masons to work on monuments in Samarkand. Next one, Sayyid dynasty. They ruled 1414 to 1451. Before leaving Delhi, Taimur had left behind his representative Khizr Khan as the governor of the territories he had conquered, Delhi, Meerut and Punjab. He founded the Sayyid dynasty in 1414, which lasted till 1451. The last ruler of his dynasty, Alauddin Alam Shah, abdicated the throne in 1451. This gave Bahlul Lodi, then the governor of Sirgin, that is in Punjab, the opportunity to become the new Sultan of Delhi, leading to the establishment of Lodi dynasty. Okay, now we will see about the last dynasty of Lodi dynasty. They ruled 1451 to 1526. In 1489, Bahlul Lodi was succeeded by his son Sikandar Lodi. Sikandar was a patron of arts and learning. He founded the city of Agra and made it his capital. He died in 1517 and was succeeded by his son Ibrahim Lodi, who was defeated by Babur in 1526 in the Panipat battle. Thus, the Lodi dynasty and the Delhi Sultanate were ended by Babur, who went on to establish the Mughal Empire in India. Islamic art and architecture. The mansions of high-ranking Muslim nobles, soldiers and officials were built first. Around them, the mosques in the imperial style were constructed by successive Muslim rulers. Mosques and madrasas looked architecturally different. The graceful decorations of doorways and walls walls with lines from the Quran made a distinct appearance in these buildings. The shape of all these buildings was Persian while the decoration was Indian. So it is called Indo-Saracen architecture. Qutub Minar, Alai Darwaza, Guwait Islam Masjid, Moti Ki Masjid, the tombs of Iltutmish, Balban and the forts of Dauladabad and Firozabad were all constructed in this style. Okay, ma? This is you look at the picture, that is the Al Darwaza, Qutub Minar, Dauladabad Fort, Motki Masjid. Okay, this lesson is finished. I hope you are all understand. Okay, thank you, ma. Take care. Learn well.